Welcome back to electronics part 2 on the rebuild. I think I'm going to name this bandit the Reaper. I think that's going to be a good name for this. With it painted red and the way it's going to end up performing in the future, I think Reaper is going to be a good name. So from now on, we're going to start calling this the Reaper project. So let's go ahead and start with the XL1 ESC. Now mine, the tabs did end up getting cut off on both sides, so I'm using double-sided tape to put it inside the ESC hole in the back side of the chassis. So we're going to stick it on down there and make sure it's nice and flush, and we're just going to push back. I'm kind of running out, so I'm trying to use the same tape, but might have to change that. I might have to find a new way to mount it. Anyways, we're just going to stick it in there and move on forward so we can get on with the project. So then we're going to move on to the 27 AM receiver. I will be upgrading in the future to a 2.4 gigahertz, but this is stock that came with the Bandit when I got it. One side I cut off when I was using it in a project, but I went a different way, and now I'm putting it back into the Bandit. So I got double-sided tape on one side, and we still have a mount spot on one side. So on this side of the chassis, let me see if I can zoom you in here. There are two tabs here and here. We're going to mount the ESC like so. We're going to mount it in there to give us the most extension on the antenna, and I like to wrap it right through this little box where the on and off switch used to be, but I ended up cutting the on and off switch off, twisting the wires together, and then heat shrinking them up here on the ESC. I'll show you that in a minute. So we're just gonna stick it through there, but first let's go ahead and screw this down. So this is a smaller lip screw that goes right inside that post to hold the receiver in. I mentioned where I got this screwdriver in previous videos, so if you're curious about that, you can go ahead and check that. We're just going to push it down, make sure this won't stick. Now let's do the antenna. So let's go ahead and get our tube. Let me zoom you out here. Alright, so after you got the antenna straw and the antenna fed through the straw, and all placed in whichever way you want to go with it, I did like I did earlier, or said earlier, and I went up through the on and off switch box and came around and went up the port. Now what we're going to do is we're going to attach the steering bell crank to the upper chassis deck so we can put on the steering servo and then the electronics part. Next, what you need to do after you have your steering bell crank and your upper chassis deck set aside and lined up, I like to take my servo horn and I like to attach it to my steering link before I attach it to my upper deck. So you're going to need a fine edged bevel point. I don't really know what to call this little lip, to be honest with you guys. I'm just going to call it a lip screw. I keep confusing myself thinking of what it's actually called. I don't know. And you're going to need a little, I think it's a 2 or 3 millimeter nut. So untwist those and stick the screw end, the point or the bevel lip, through the servo horn. Actually, no, correction, sorry guys. You're going to stick the screw through the link first, then through the horn, and then you're going to attach the nut and the screw, just like so. You're going to put the screw in first. Sorry guys, it's really hard to tell if I'm getting this on camera for you guys. Screw through the link, then through the whole horn. Grab your little nut if I can keep a hold of it. This is why I've been cut on and off videos. It's really hard to catch all this for you guys without my big hands being in the shot. And then you just attach them. I believe I do have, yes I do. Okay. The socket that I'm using is a 7/32 socket. My unit did not come with a 4-way, so I'm actually using real sockets that match, so I don't end up stripping out any of my screws or my nuts for my unit. So then you just grab your Phillips head screwdriver, you just tighten them down, and you loosen it just a little bit so everything moves freely. You don't want, I could actually probably tighten that a little bit more, but you want it loose enough to where there's not any friction, so it moves freely between all the parts for the steering, so it's not really wearing out your servo a whole lot quicker. That's one experience I learned. So you just have it to where it moves nice and freely. Once you are done there, you want to get your screws, which are an Allen key, long screw, and your 2 washers. You got a nylon washer that is here, but that is going to go on second. First, you have a silver little small washer. You know, slide that on your screw first, followed by that nylon washer. Once you have those ready, your screws are then ready to attach your steering bell crank to your upper chassis unit. Before we do that, we're going to want to attach the servo to the unit so we can get to the screw holes a lot easier. Once you have grabbed your servo and figured out which side your steering linkage hooks to, mine is the right side, is where it is on my body. So that's how I have mine mounted. So once you flip it upside down, sorry for hitting the stand guys, there is 4 screws usually, but I broke a post off on mine, so I have 3. There is 1 screw here, 1 here, and also 1 here. Once you have that complete, you are now ready to install your steering bell crank to your upper chassis deck. Now what I'm going to want to do, because of how I have it set, it's not going to fit. That's because you need to flip it over, and then now you need to install it in your upper chassis deck. So you just slide it onto your 2 posts, like so. Slide it down, make sure everything moves freely like it should. Now you want to grab those 2 screws from earlier. Sorry guys, I am not meaning to hit my stand. And you slide them down just like we set them up earlier. Now you just need to screw them in after you have the right bit. Mine is an Allen key, but I am using a different tool set, so my ends do not match what normal the hobby screwdrivers are. Usually they're, if I believe right, a 2.5 millimeter screw. Sorry guys, it's early in the morning here, so I'm still trying to wake up. I just wanted to get this going so I can actually drive it. So now you're just going to want to tighten them down. So you want to loosen them up just a little bit, not too much, but just enough to where everything will still move nice and freely like so. They look like they're tightened, but everything still moves nice and freely. Now our upper chassis deck is ready to be, actually no, what we need to do first is now level out the steering servo and adjust our link for our steering servo and attach the steering servo horn. Then once that is complete, then we're ready to install this in the upper deck. So the next thing we're going to want to do is, like I mentioned earlier, is we're going to want to zero out the receiver or the steering servo. So we're going to grab all the wires that we need. I went and grabbed an old battery. It doesn't have a full lot of charge on it. Sorry guys, my wife needed to talk to me for a second. So grab an old battery. The ESC is just kind of sitting in there. The tape's not sticking, so we'll fix that off camera. We're just going to do a quick plug-in. So we're going to plug everything up. We're just going to throw the motor connectors on and everything. So let's go ahead and do that and get a better camera angle. First thing we're going to want to do is plug in the motor. So we're going to connect red to red, just like so. We're going to connect black to black, just like so. Next thing what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to take the ESC cable, which is this one, and we want to plug it into channel 2 and 3 of the receiver. Remember guys, 2 for go, 1 for turn. So we're going to plug it in like so. And this is just a quick mock-up. This is not how we're going to leave the wires. We're just testing the servo to zero it out. That's all we're doing. Just like so. Got the receiver in channel 1, or the steering servo. Sorry, I don't know why I keep calling it the receiver. And we got the ESC into channel 2. Battery port we have open, that's for lights or a winch, or probably not a winch, but lights or something like that. Now we'll set the camera back down, turn our controller on, just like so. Now we're going to want to power up the vehicle. Apparently the trim is a little off, but we'll worry about that at a different time. Let's make sure on the controller, over here on the cables or the knobs, we have the steering zeroed out at 0. If you can see there, that one is zeroed out. So that means the servo is now zeroed out. Now it's time to adjust our links. Okay, now what we need to do, since we know everything is zeroed out, we need to bring our steering horn back, and we need to make sure everything is going to line up evenly. So first, gotta put the steering servo on right, push the horn in, and no, everything is a little off. So now we need to pull it off and readjust our links, and we'll be back once we have those readjusted. Okay, once you have those set, now you need to take the screw and the washer to hold in the horn to the servo. So once you go in and you find those, you just need to grab the washer, now you just need to start screwing it in. Alright guys, that is it for today. We got the steering servo all connected to the bottom chassis deck. Steering belt crank and links are connected. We got the motor installed. Sorry guys, I am having a bad problem with the stand. Got the motor installed. We don't have to readjust the ESC, but that's not a big deal. We got the receiver installed. Now, time for the next episode. So see you guys on the next episode. Thank you guys for watching. Please hit the subscribe if you guys want to. Share with your friends. Thank you guys so much for watching and stay in tuned.